Sometimes it feels like the sun will never rise, like the birds will never sing again. Believe in a power greater than what you are going through. When you don't know what to do, keep breathing.
That's right. When you don't know what to do, just keep on breathing. From the City of Angels in Los Angeles, welcome to all my listeners out there in Radio Land. I am Dave, the Caregiver's Caregiver, at caregiverdave.com, coming to you live and on demand 24/7 on numerous syndicated radio and podcast networks on 26 global audio and video platforms, including iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Spreaker, SoundCloud, Vimeo, and a whole bunch more, and syndicated radio networks as well. And in fact, we're proud to be voted #1 caregiver podcast of the top 50 on Player FM, and #2 podcast on FeedSpot out of the top 60, and #2 podcast on caringvillage.com. And we have an especially exciting show planned for you today. Is your career making you a zombie? How to go from Walking Dead to Invincible, whose career is on fire. So for all you caregivers out there who want the career you've been dreaming about, Mustafa Ammar is the founder and CEO of the Passion MBA. It's a global coaching company, and he's also a life coach who coached hundreds of professionals around the world to find their dream careers and build their dream businesses. Mustafa is the author of the upcoming book, The Passion Project. Build the career you were born to have and find your life. And find your life purpose. That's what I meant to say. But before we get started, I want to take this moment and thank my last week's guest, Roz Jones. She's a compassionate, innovative healthcare industry leader whose goal is to make healthy difference in the lives of men, women, and children. And just a reminder, you can watch or listen to that interview and all our interviews, including this one, on our membership website, caregiverdave.com, or any of our other 26 global networks that I mentioned earlier. Okay, enough of that. Mustafa, welcome to the Caregiver Dave Show. We're so excited to have you on.
Thank you, Dave. It's a pleasure being with you. Thank you so much.
And I always like to ask my guests, just who is Mustafa Ammar and why was he placed on this earth? Start with the
in brief, I'm Egyptian by nationality, and I'm a global citizen.
I recognize the name.
Thank you. I'm a global citizen. I lived in 5 continents, over the last 3 decades and plus. I work in different careers. I have lived several career lives. I started my first career as a pharmacist out of passion for chemistry. My second career life was as a diplomat out of passion of traveling the world and bridging gaps among different cultures and learning foreign languages too. Then I had a third career life as an investment banker. So I work in a multinational investment bank, which is very similar.
No stopping you Egyptians. You're overachievers. I'm Syrian. We're very close to...
Exactly. We're so close. Exactly.
Go on. You get into #4.
And then after investment banking for 4 years, and that was out of passion of developing some, developing countries in the Middle East and Africa. And then I moved to what I'm doing right now. My current life as an entrepreneur, as a life coach, as an author. I thought that I had lived my life with values and concepts that transformed my life. And I really wanted to share them with, people around me and the world as well.
You bring up a good point. You've done a lot and you've succeeded a lot and you've become a somebody. No doubt one day you were a nobody. But
Exactly.
What's your recommendation for caregivers who are trying to start all over again? I mean, did you have a mentor?
I used to have, of course, over my career change, but I still remember when I was struggling in my first career transition, when I was a pharmacist, I wanted to be a diplomat. I was struggling with my inner doubts, people around me who were always telling me, no, you cannot do it. You are a pharmacist. And how the hell do you want to be a diplomat?
The voice of the enemy. First it's in our head, and then it's confirmed in the voices of our friends and family.
Exactly. So I think there are 2 steps here. The first is to figure out your passions. So it's really crucial because I I am sure that if I didn't have enough passion for whatever I was doing, I would fall at some point. I would listen to them and then, I would fail. I spent some time on understanding my passions. And at that point, I really wanted to do it. That was my dream career. And the idea here is that I have to do my best. I have to give it all what I got because I don't want to regret,
Yeah, nothing like the pain of regret.
Exactly. And then the second step was to build my faith in myself, my faith in the universe, that it will always give you if you do your best. I still remember that discussion with people around me every day. People used to tell me, do you think you do it? Because that's a big contest. It's like 2,000 contestants. At the end of the day, they take 20. And I still remember that question all the time. Do they think that they take you and leave whoever is much better than you, whoever, is an expert in that and this? And I was talking to myself every day. And I asked myself the same question. Do you think you can do it? And I say, it might be impossible for me, but it's not impossible for God. So in the same moment, when I say it's not impossible for God, then come back to myself and I say, then focus on your part. Do your part first.
Right. You do your part, God will do his part.
Exactly. So the two lessons learned here is focus on your passion and then build some faith in yourself.
So did you even have a passion for being a pharmacist when you started?
I had.
Your passion can change, right?
Exactly. It's something I discovered along the journey is that your passion change or alter along the way because our personality change, right? So me and you 10 years ago, I'm sure we were a different person.
I'm a different person today. Yeah.
Exactly. So our passions, our priorities, our values even might change. So wise people understand their passions. They listen to the callings that are coming to them. They might change their lives. And at some point when I was 16, I really wanted to be a pharmacist because I wanted to study all kinds of chemistry. I didn't care much about what I would do next, but I said, if I don't study all kinds of chemistry now, I think I would die. And, at some point you might think, oh, you're wasting your time. You did chemistry, you did pharmacy, and then you changed your career, you're starting from scratch. I give you one single example of how my chemistry helped me with something else in my life. So, the organic chemistry is very simple. You're drawing a compound. Okay, so you are visualizing that compound. There's a logic when you draw that compound. And I still remember when I went to China, I worked in China for 10 years and as a diplomat, as a banker as well. And in the beginning, I was learning Chinese. So I figured out that it was super easy for me to learn how to read and write Chinese. I didn't have any clue at that point that's what's happening, I didn't know. But when I connected things, I understood that there is a concept called analogical thinking. When you bring the expertise that you have in the past or your former experience to a new domain, you can easily reflect on that. So again, back to chemistry, it's a logic. You are drawing from one compound to the other, from one side to the other. The same happens in Chinese characters. You are exactly drawing in the same logic. You start with one point to another point. So the free takeaway here is, whatever you are learning, you will never miss. You will always use it at some point or another.
That's right. Everything builds upon itself.
Exactly.
It's the foundation.
Exactly. 100%.
And I asked about mentors before, because I know you do coaching. Is it difficult for someone to go through the beginning and work through the passions and through the different industries, etc., without somebody guiding them or telling them, hey, I've done this, here's the way? Do you know anybody who's done it without a mentor or without a coach?
It's not easy. It's really not easy. You really have to find people around you. I did it in the first step by myself, but that was very, very harsh. I learned my hard lesson is first, you need to extend your network. So you need to find people in that new domain, go and find them, surround yourself with them because they are speaking in the same language, in your future language. They are talking about the same thing, right? And then found a mentor or two or three. Don't stick to one because each one you're going to learn a lot from. And even in my current journey, I'm having 4 or 5 mentors, one in building businesses, one in storytelling,
Right.
one in marketing books. So I'm learning a lot from people. So it's a real long journey.
Yeah. Wow. So I can tell you're very confident. You weren't always this confident, were you?
No, definitely not. I mean, I tell you, when I was a kid, I was, I grew up as a very, very shy boy, very, very shy. I
Me
couldn't
too.
talk a few words, but I believed in something. I believed in hard work. I thought at that time that's the only way, to find my ways. Another big lesson I learned very early in my life was from Rocky, the movie.
Yeah.
I love the movie.
Me too.
And I still remember at 5, 6 years old, I was seeing him, he got hit, he fall down, he was an underdog and he fall down. And then he keeps fighting back. He get up again and keep fighting and then win. That was very inspiring for me. So
Yeah,
when I saw
great
all this
movie.
around me, I say, hard work always pays off. Yeah.
Yeah, when I visited Philadelphia, there's things that I wanted to see. 3 things. One was the Rocky statue, and I had to wait in line 20 minutes to take a picture of the statue of Rocky.
Exactly.
And the other one was a cheesesteak sandwich and the Liberty Bell. But yeah,
Exactly.
it's pretty it's pretty amazing that that confidence is something that doesn't just come overnight. The more you do, the more confident you become. And well, it's scary to go out there and do things, isn't it? But Tony Robbins said, when it's scary, you must. So is fear the enemy? Did you fight with fear?
Fear was always around me. I would say, one of the kinds of fears, I would say, fear of being ridiculous, fear of ridicule. Because at some point, people will look at you, point at you, and say, "Oh, what are you doing? You're wasting your time," and look at other people who are much better than you. And I would always come back to myself and be sure that this is my passion. It will transform my life if I could do it. And I have to build faith in myself. And I always say to myself, I don't have anything to lose. I'm not proving anything to anybody. I'm just proving it to myself. And the other belief I knew from the beginning of my life, that I have only one life. Each one of us has only one life. And I'm not here to live my life just to, pay my bills and die. I really wanted to do something different. I wanted to enjoy the things that I'm doing. I wanted to have an impact on people around me.
Want to change the world?
Hopefully.
Now, caregiving came into your life during your 4th career. Tell us about that.
So caregiving has been always around, but I still remember early last year, 2020, I was still in my banking career. And then with lockdown and situation happening, I was supposed to be in China at that time, but then I was in London with my family, spending a holiday with them. But then suddenly, over the coming few weeks, my sister got sick, my mom got sick, and my dad got sick at the same time.
With COVID?
No, my dad has a blackout in his eye. So I was the one who's taking him to the several hospitals until we figure out what's happening. My sister got few tumors in her uterus.
Wow.
And in her hip bone as well. So we took some time over weeks to realize what's happening. And with my mom has some chronic health issues, but then we figure out that she has an issue with her platelet count. So it dropped quickly to a very, very low level. At that point, I was asked by my boss in the bank to go back to China. And I had to decide. And I say, sorry, I'm quitting this because I don't have any other option. I have to take care of my family.
Line up with your priorities.
Exactly. And I still imagine if I just listened to him and went back, I would regret all my life. But I spent the whole 2020 taking care of my family and their health issues.
Wow.
While building my things. I say, whatever time I'm having, even if it's like late at night, I will work on my coaching, plan.
Always working.
Exactly. And I learned that big lesson that if you give up anything for your family or for the people who are close to you, life will give you much more. Well, life will reward you even much more than you deserve.
Yeah. Let's talk about the three essential elements that you speak about that anybody can use to rebuild his or her own career, because caregivers often either get fired or have to give up their job because they just can't do both. They're caring for their loved one, like you had to choose. They have to choose. And so some of them are, not paying the bills. Maybe they're behind in the rent. Maybe they had to give up their apartment and move in with their mother or something. Who knows?
Exactly. Burnout in general has many reasons. And one of the structural reasons is the lack of passion. So forget about, working environment or pressure at work or your boss or your colleagues. If you don't have enough passion for whatever you're doing, you will burn out very quickly. So let's imagine this analog here. Let's imagine that you are on a long journey driving your car for thousands of miles across the country. So you need three essential elements here. The first is enough gas, until you finish the whole journey. Second is a GPS tracker, because you are traveled in, in roads you never traveled in before. And the third is a final destination. Okay. So without enough gas, you will run out of gas at some point, right? And without a GPS tracker, how would you be able to travel in, across the whole country without, something that is leading
in the right direction?
And exactly. And the final destination, what's the benefit of a GPS without a final destination? So in our case here, our passions are, are the fuel or the gas that you're having. If you don't have enough passion, run out of gas and you burn out very quickly, right? Your values are your GPS. So without those values, you may lose your tracks. You lose your points. You have to have your values around you, guiding you around, along the journey. And without the final destinations, which is your vision for your dream lifestyle. Each one of us should have a dream lifestyle in his or her mind, thinking of, where I want to live, which city I want to live, which place, which ideal weekday, which ideal weekend, that I should have. With whom should I spend it?
Yeah.
It's so crucial. So if you don't satisfy, or if your career doesn't satisfy any of those elements, you will always burn out quickly.
So that's why we burn out. We run out of gas, huh?
Exactly.
So what about the major effects of career burnout on professionals? What usually happens when we burn out? What are the symptoms?
Well, there is a very interesting study that showed that 70% of full-time employees, they had burnout at least once in their lives.
And there's another statistic, I can't remember what it is, but it's in the 90-something% of people hate their jobs.
Exactly.
There was a song that came out in the 70s, Take This Job and Shove It. And it was a very popular song.
Exactly. 85%, as you say, 85. Of 1 billion full-timers around the world, they hate their jobs.
That's sad.
And that's so sad.
I love my job.
Exactly. And then seeing all of this, 23% are suffering burnout all the time. And when you look at, the side effects of burnout, you would imagine, disease or illness like diabetes, like heart disease, heart attacks, right? High blood pressure. And looking at least those 23%, they are at a very, very, very high risk. Yeah. So they really have to take care. And I think the first step is to be aware of the symptoms. Because if you're not aware of the symptoms, how are you going to react? Or at least know that you might be developing burnout and then start acting accordingly, right?
Yeah. And in caregiving, it's actually worse. It's 30% of caregivers will actually die from the stress before their loved one dies.
Exactly.
And then many more, some think as high as 60%, will actually become sicker than the one they're caring for, being hospitalized and eventually need a caregiver of their own. That leaves 10% of caregivers out there are healthy, doing the right things, putting their oxygen mask on first. Exactly. It's an epidemic, isn't it?
Exactly.
And not just in caregiving.
Yeah, and when you are caregiving, you really have to take care of yourself first. Because how you want to take care of yourself take care of others unless you take care of yourself.
Yeah, you never go down alone. You always take people with you.
Exactly. And here I think resilience is so crucial. So if we don't build resilience, if we don't have enough faith in ourselves, if we don't express gratitude all the time, if we don't build a flexible mindset that life can always hit back very rough and strong with us, how we would be able to keep pushing forward and supporting people around us.
Yes, life is very unforgiving, isn't it?
Yeah.
It doesn't care what race you are, what color you are, what faith you are,
Exactly.
or what nationality you are, etc.
Exactly.
But so you say that if they would just find passion, that is a recipe for getting out of burnout.
Yeah.
And how can someone find their passion? Because sometimes I talk to people and they say, well, I say, what are you passionate about? And they just,
Sure.
I'm not passionate about anything. I'm just so burned out. Yeah, I just think they're in a bad place. They need to like take a break, clear their head, go get a massage, and then maybe the blood will flow back to their brain and they can figure out what they're passionate about. Whatever puts a smile on your face.
So, I spent all my years, I went back and recalled all my memories to, come up with a methodology to build your passions. But if I might here, because of our time is short, if I might here say two things.
Yes.
First, I would say that your passions are, I would say, the seeds that God implants in your heart to figure out what's your life purpose. So it's something that implanted in your heart. Some people ignore. And if you ignore it, you need to water it, right? So if you don't do, it will die. But if you keep watching it, if you keep trying to understand what's this passion and what's happening around, then you might find a clue. And I think the first step is not to ignore the callings. Like, imagine how many times we received callings in our life. Like, oh, I love this thing. I would love to do that thing. I would love. And such a pity, the majority around us are not able to receive those, callings or react to them or try to understand them. But wise people try to understand them and then give them some time. And definitely they will lead them to their next passions.
Yeah, because maybe, now is not the time, but maybe next year will be the time. Exactly. Or maybe, other things need to change. Maybe you're not in the right city, but instead of just shutting it down and say, oh, I could never do that, exactly. And then shutting the door, leave it open.
Exactly. And in my different career transitions, that was the clue that I had. I said, I don't know what I'm doing, but I know there is a calling for something. I will keep exploring that calling and I will figure out and see. And sometimes it happens over 2 or 3 years and sometimes in 1 year, but then it led you to your next, career, dream career, or your next, I would say, life purpose.
Yeah. And there's a famous question that says, after someone, like I lost a lot of money in 2008 during the meltdown. I'm sure everyone did, or most everyone did, except for the CEOs. They got bonuses. But because that's the industry you're in, I bet you can tell me a thing or two about it. But so when they go through something bad like that, they're asked the question, well, gee, if you had to do it all over again, what would you do differently? In my case, I bought a wrong investment property. That was the worst thing to be invested in when 2008 happened. And I thought that I would say, well, I wouldn't buy that property. Or with my wife's stroke, I would have taken to her a different hospital. But you know what? The more I think about it, I wouldn't change a thing because life is going to happen. And you need to use whatever is happening. All things work together for good, the Bible tells us.
Exactly.
And God gives us the strength to get through what we're going through, because our trials will teach us perseverance. And perseverance will give us character, and etc. And so pain and trials and disappointments and trouble are necessary ingredients in succeeding, isn't it?
Exactly. Research shows that people don't regret their mistakes for a long time. If you commit a mistake, if you have even a big mistake, you will, keep remembering it for a while. And that's it. But then you learn from it and act, right?
Yeah.
But the long-lasting regrets, which are staying with people until the last moments in their lives, are about the things they wanted to do, but they never did. the adventures that they want to explore, but they never did, the dreams, the careers or the skills that you wanted to learn, and you never did. So that brings us back again to this triangle of passions, values, and your vision of the dream lifestyle. If you are clear of them, those three elements, don't care about anything else, whatever mistake you will do along the way, your passions, even if they're changing over time. That's actually, I would call it, you are reincarnating your life. Like, I think I'm living my fourth life right now while I'm still in my late 30s. It's like, wow, because I lived, life long time ago as a pharmacist. Then I live another life as a diplomat. Then a third, then a fourth now.
Success leaves clues. And every time you talk, it's very hard for you not to smile. So I can tell that you're very passionate about what you're doing. And, a lot of people will have an opportunity, opportunity knocks on the door and they're too afraid to go through it. You say, wouldn't it be nice too? But you know what? If you don't go through that door, there's 100% chance that you will fail.
Exactly.
But if you do go through the door, okay, maybe there's no guarantee that you'll succeed, but you at least have a 50-50 chance. I'll take those odds in Las Vegas any day, 50-50 over 0.
Yeah, exactly. And, looking at this, something I learned, a big lesson I learned in my life is that big opportunities, they don't come to you unless they send you a smaller opportunities first. So they coordinate, the whole universe coordinates. So before you get your big opportunity, you'll find maybe a small opportunity at work to do something out of your task, description or whatever else, that you're going to learn something new from it. So when you explore it, it opens a new door. And then that new doors open up everything to the big experience and the big opportunity that's coming. So my humble advice to myself and everybody, don't ever close the door toward any small opportunity. Explore everything. You never know.
Yeah. So with the last couple of minutes, why don't you give us your contact information and anything else that you didn't get a chance to say that I didn't ask you?
Thank you, Dave. So my name is Mustafa Ammar. You can always find my website is thepassionmba.com. You can find me on social media on Instagram as The Passion MBA as well. And on LinkedIn as Mustafa Ammar, Mustafa, Ammar, Ammar. And it was a pleasure being with you, Dave. It's so nice.
One last parting words for a caregiver who's sitting there saying, I need that, I need to do that. But give them the first step. So a long journey begins with the first step, doesn't it?
Exactly. Find your passions and build your own faith. It's so crucial. Your faith means resilience. Your faith means patience, optimism, and you will get there.
So maybe they need to get a piece of paper and say, if this was the last year of your life, if you knew you were going to die in a few months, what would you do differently? That's a tremendous question.
Exactly. And always they need to visualize themselves. And I do this with myself. I do this with my clients too. Visualize yourself in your last day in your life. You are done, and look at the regrets. And the major regrets there are always the things that you wanted to do but never did. So at least start trying, right?
Okay. Well, gosh, it's been a great time with you.
Thank you.
And again, a reminder, all our shows are recorded podcasts and videocasts, and they're on our platforms mentioned. My website is caregiverdave.com, and I've got 3 free gifts for caregivers that are yours for free. Just go. It's a free membership website. Give me your email, and we're not going to bug you, but it's a support group that is full of tools and resources, everything you need, not to just survive, but to thrive caregiving. So until we see again, we'll see you next time, same channel. Bye-bye.
Our featured speaker is a best-selling author who has written numerous books and articles. He's a speaker, life coach, and host of Dave, the Caregiver's Caregiver radio program. He frequently appears on television and radio shows all across the country and has even shared the stage with Suzanne Summers at Harvard. But his most important role is caregiver to his beautiful wife, Charlene, for over 22 years. Please welcome Mr. Dave Nassani!
I want to share with you a love story. In a couple of weeks, my wife and I will be celebrating 44 years of being together. My wife, Charlene, and I had a fairy tale, storybook, romance, courtship, and marriage for the first 21 years of our lives together. One day, out of nowhere, my wife has a headache, the headache of her life. She suffered a massive stroke, and it left her severely speech impaired and paralyzed on the right side. And in that moment, our world turned upside down. I gotta tell you, the next 2 years was like a living hell. I just didn't know what to do. I felt guilty most of the time. I became a caregiver. I didn't even know what a caregiver was. I was experiencing the same problems that other caregivers experience. If you don't take care of you, I can't take care of her. Well, that's why I wrote the book. Now I can teach other caregivers. I'm living proof that you can thrive as a caregiver. My wife and I travel now all over the world sharing our story. One day, life is going to call upon you to be the captain of your boat. Heck, you might be saving your own life. Thank you.
Sometimes it feels like the sun will never rise, like the birds will never sing.